Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. I'm Grae Wilder, an undergraduate researcher at UC Berkeley studying animal health and behavior, and currently I'm abroad right now in Nepal on a fully funded research trip where I'm conducting independent research on human-wildlife coexistence. So if you're interested in any of that or are interested in any tips and tricks on how to study abroad and do research abroad as an undergrad, for free or even paid, continue listening to this video because I got a lot of tips for you and a lot of advice. So without further ado, I'm gonna go straight into some of the tips and tricks that I have for working abroad, doing research for free. So again, going over some of the benefits of international research experience, I think it's pretty obvious, but the things that I value the most in international experience is the connections, the learning experience with cross-cultural communication, and also the experience of conducting an independent research project in an unfamiliar place. You're kind of like throwing yourself in the deep end and swimming through it. And usually you have some support with you. And I think it's just like ultimately one of the most rewarding and encouraging experiences in your early career to get that international experience as an undergrad. And it could also just catapult your application for grad school or job applications and such. So again, I value international research so much. And I think as someone who is experiencing it currently, right now, as I'm filming this video, I think there is just like so much to be said about everything you learn. It can't even be like encapsulated in words how much you learn from an experience like this. And I want to help others do the same. So background on what I'm doing. I said I'm in Nepal studying human-wildlife coexistence strategies. I got this opportunity through my networking connections within my university. So if you're interested in learning how to network and gaining connections within an undergraduate education for research, I have another video on that on my channel, so you might want to check out that one. I just recorded that one right before this one. So I have lots of tips and tricks on that for sure, but for this video, I wanted to kind of talk more about how those connections got me to different connections that presented an opportunity for an internship abroad that was unpaid. So originally, this internship that I'm on right now was unpaid. And for me as a low-income student, that wasn't really feasible for me to do to pay all those expenses by myself. So instead, I was looking into grants. And for me, I applied for like probably 6 or 7, 8 grants. I got 3 of them. And these 3 ended up being way more than I expected, and not only covered research expenses, but also the flights, food, and a small stipend on top of it. So again, there are so many possibilities and so much money out there to be claimed. You just have to be good enough to find it. And usually it's not through the mainstream funneling methods. Like, again, I just talked about that in my last video about doing research as an undergrad. It's usually not through the main pathway. Sometimes people do it and it works out, but for me, it's always been through connections. And I wanted to talk about a few fully funded programs there are out there, because these are a little bit more of the main pathways, but they do offer a lot of fully funded great opportunities. And I've never received any of these, but I know that they're out there and they help a lot of people. So again, if you want to study abroad through your university, there's study abroad scholarships such as Gilman and Boren scholarships. You can look those up on your own time, but they basically give you, I think Gilman is up to $5,000 in money to study abroad. So some of that could be for your flights, some of that could be for your housing and food, and some of that could be for your research costs if you're doing independent research. So again, an amazing opportunity to apply for either Gilman or Boren. And then there's other research grants as well from top tier NGOs and different like governmental organizations as well. So National Geographic offers level 1 grants that are available for undergrads to get up to, I believe, $20,000 to study your proposed project. And that one is one that I know a couple friends have done, and it's a great opportunity. They offer a lot of mentorship and resources too. There's also the National Science Foundation. The REU program within the National Science Foundation is a great one that I've also heard a lot of people enjoy and really gain a lot of experience from. And those grants are kind of more traditional application based. And then there's also university sponsored exchange programs. So if you have a university that has an exchange program, sometimes they offer that for the same amount of tuition that you would normally be paying. And if you have an extensive scholarship, for me as a low-income student, I have a full ride from UC Berkeley. That also covers any study abroad that I want to do. So this fall, I'm going to be in Costa Rica for free, completely for free, based like solely on my scholarship that I already have from my university. So there are many, many opportunities to get fully funded research opportunities abroad that you might not like consider immediately. So again, to kind of go over like everything that I just talked about within that like 3 minutes, I know I'm talking very fast. Study abroad scholarships include Gilman Scholarship, Boren Scholarship, and also research grants include National Geographic Level 1 grants and the National Science Foundation REU program. And then there's also university-sponsored exchange programs through either your financial aid or some other like agreement with 2 host institutions. So I would encourage y'all to check those out if you're someone who really wants to explore doing research abroad and wants to know how to do it for like either cost efficiently or completely for free. Those are really good opportunities to apply for. Some tips with the application process for those opportunities. I would say creating a strong proposal is so important. And don't be afraid to ask for help, because there are a lot of postdocs and graduate students at your university, most likely, that are very undervalued in terms of like a connection. Like I've talked about in previous videos how this idea of connections being only professors is kind of limiting, because there's so many grad students out there that have much more time to dedicate to you and a lot more like fresh passion to just like and you know current knowledge of an early career professional that are willing to help you and more than willing will gladly help you. So contact people whose research you admire within the grad program that you at your university, and ask them for help. You know, like create a connection first. You know, like say, oh, I really value your research. I'm trying to do research of my own. If you have like a minute or two, I would love to just someday go on a call, like a meeting with you, and go over what it is to create a research proposal and what you think of mine, because our research is similar, something like that. I've done that before, and yes, it seems a little intimidating or scary at first, but more than likely they're going to be happy to help you and be excited for you and proud of you that you're trying to do this research, especially if that person has studied in the country that you want to study in as well. It's so helpful, because they can give you lifestyle tips, some cross-cultural communication skills beforehand, just brief you on what you should expect going into the country that you are. Again, it's just so helpful to create a strong proposal in those applications. And what better way to create a strong proposal than ask people who have created strong proposals themselves? And they're super under-resourced. Like, not under-resourced is not the word I'm trying to say, but you know what I mean? Like, they're undervalued. Not a lot of people go to them and talk to them and use their knowledge to help them. And I think it's a very untapped opportunity there to talk to grad students, because I have a lot of connections now that are all like grad students or postdocs, and again, like, they're the most like friendly, down to earth, amazing people that I've met through my connections so far. And by far, they have created the most opportunities for me, much more than my connections to professors. Just because professors have like zero time on their hands. They've got so much going on. And postdocs and grad students have a lot more time on their hands. So again, through your application, the most important part is the proposal, right? But also, you want to highlight whatever cross-cultural experience that you have, whether you are bicultural yourself or like multicultural, have a multicultural family, or you've traveled before, you've done research before, you know certain languages, all that like cross-cultural communication and just like cultural skill of navigating a different environment is just so important to include on those applications, because framing it in a way of like, oh, I'm an early career researcher and I haven't been able to travel before is good, but I think it is kind of a detriment to your application somewhat if you don't include the fact that you already are confident in your cross-cultural communication skills and adaptability and flexibility to traveling and living in a new location, because that is something that they want to make sure that they're funding someone who will be able to, complete the project, make sure that they're funding someone who is confident enough to really show their skill and put themselves out there and complete what they said they were going to complete. So those are a couple things to think about when you're applying for grants like that. And a few logistics as well. You want to make sure that you are navigating visa requirements very carefully, because that can turn really, really disappointing really quick if you can't get your visa in time, or you're denied a visa and you've already got this funding behind you. It's a really, really scary process. So you want to make sure that you know the process beforehand and you like write that down. Like, make sure you're getting it from accredited sources and you know exactly what you got to do and when you have to do it before your trip. So after visas, also travel arrangements, you want to know like where you're staying beforehand, hopefully some person contact that you can use exactly when you get there to coordinate your transportation from the airport to wherever you're working, or to wherever your accommodation is. For me, I had like 2 contacts in Nepal, and I used those contacts. I met one of my contacts at the airport. He got me a taxi where I could go to my office or my like hotel location, and then the owner of the hotel was also a connection of mine, and then I was talking to him and he got me a nice private room and a discounted rate, and was able to make sure that my flight was not delayed or anything, and they all coordinated that process for me, which was really nice as an undergraduate researcher. Experiencing Nepal for the first time, it is completely different, and very helpful to have those connections and those travel arrangements made beforehand. And also, a quick thing to note is like health, safety, and cultural preparation. Before you go to whatever location that you're going to be studying in, make sure that you know the health standards of that country you're living in. Can you drink the tap water, for example? Can you, is there going to be a bathroom that's going to be like a toilet-based bathroom or like an outhouse? Just know what you're walking into. and the hygiene practices of wherever you're going to be staying. You know, are you going to be local, or are you going to be in a city, or are you going to be rural? What kind of differences there are within, like, you know, accommodation and resources within those two places. And also some cultural preparation. Make sure you learn some of the language. Make sure you understand some of the cultural context. Especially if you're doing research, it's very important to understand the cultural context. And maybe there's only so much research you can do beforehand, but exactly when you get on the ground, talk to people, make connections, and really don't be afraid to ask questions, because you are a foreigner, and you know, you should be asking these questions to understand the cultural surrounding, or the cultural atmosphere that you're in, and for many different reasons. But if anything, for your research, you have to know the context of whatever you're studying. So it's super important. And then another last note that I wanted to make on this video is how to maximize your experience for the better. So I'm still working through this all myself, but again, the best way to build and engage the most people out of your experience is to, one, build international networks. Like, build connections to the people within the country, and lasting ones. You know, you want to make sure that these people are going to write a letter of recommendation for you, or, you know, be contacts in the future for potentially when you reach that career that you want, you know, you can contact them again. Like, make sure they're lasting connections. You can, you know, help them out as well. So again, building that international network of people is so important. And also documenting your research for future opportunities. Like, make sure that if you, obviously, maybe the goal is to publish your research or present your research. That's great. But also just documenting the impact of your research is really important too. And like, if you are someone who is planning to apply to grad school like I am, it's super important for us to really get as much out of these like short research opportunities. Especially for me, I'm only here for 3 months over the summer. It's really important to like use everything that you learned throughout this experience as another thing on your, you know, your grad school application. Make sure you maximize the amount of experience, the amount of things you learned, and the amount that you can present, or the amount that, like, the impact of your research is super important as well. So with that all being said, I kind of just wanted to, like, you know, wrap this up by saying there are many more opportunities out there than you may realize, and there's so much money, opportunity, and funding like out there for people who are willing to find it. And there are ways to do undergraduate research abroad for free or almost free. And there are many different avenues of doing this. So if you are, you know, someone who is really passionate and really motivated to do this, there are ways you can do it. And I'm confident in you guys that you can really push yourselves to find those opportunities. And again, if anyone has any questions about the opportunity that I'm on, or any question in general that you think I may be able to help with, I'm so down to answer anything. Even if you see this video years down the line, I hope that I can, you know, periodically come back to the comment section and answer anything that you guys might be curious about. So yeah, I hope this video helps anyone who is interested in doing international research but is concerned about the funding. I hope my experience inspires others to realize that even as a low-income student, there are opportunities out there, and you just might have to go out and find those niche opportunities yourself. So yeah, again, please comment anything any questions or any comments about this video down below. Please like and subscribe if you're interested in any content about research, undergraduate education, a full ride at low-income living as an undergraduate, or especially if you're interested in animal conservation and environmental health, please, 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 I would really appreciate you guys liking and subscribing to my channel. And yeah, hopefully I'll get to see you guys again in another video. But for now, bye-bye.